the internet in terms of genetics is a blessing and a curse. Um, in terms of it being a blessing, it's a way for families to connect when otherwise they may not have been able to do that. And our ability to share information has exploded, which is incredibly helpful in us to understand genetic conditions, sort of the range of features that can go along with that, and to help people not feel so isolated. Families, most importantly, but also clinicians who are trying to study these conditions. It's much easier to find people worldwide with the internet than in the past, where we didn't have that kind of access to information. Um, in terms of the negative side of the internet, I always tell families not to Google things, and no one listens, and that's okay because people are just trying to learn. But so I give people that don't Google with the caveat that when you do, I want you to keep in mind that what you're reading about is probably some of the more negative information. So a lot of the time, the people who are having a good time or an okay time are not usually the folks who are posting online about it. So in that way, you're sort of getting some skewed information. And in a lot of support groups, while they're incredibly helpful, and I always want my patients to find a community, there are plenty of support groups out there that don't want medical providers to be a part of their group. And I completely understand that. Many people want to have a place to sort of call their own, outside of, I'm sure, a lifetime of appointments and, medical influence. But I did join a support group as a family member of mine was diagnosed fairly recently with a genetic condition. And I wanted to understand, as a healthcare provider, what was being shared in these support groups, and also to find out, are there people like my family member out there? Because truly it was a shock even to me as someone who's been working in this field for more than 10 years. And so overall, these groups have been wonderful, but there's a ton of misinformation in them. And so there are lots of people out there who are sharing information about, the health problems that their child or they are experiencing that may actually not be attributable to the genetic condition that their child has. And so I don't want those folks to stop looking for the root cause of that particular problem if we're trying to jam a square peg through a round hole and say everything goes with this particular health problem. So, that's sort of one negative that I've kind of encountered in my experience with, internet-based support groups. So I always recommend that if you do see something in those groups, just fact check it with a healthcare provider. There's lots of ways to find genetics professionals out there. So if you do have questions, there's almost always a way to find somebody who can help you get the best, most accurate information.